Hello, everyone. Another day, another news show from me. Today is 22nd of January. Now it's 12 p.m. Moscow time, and thank you very much for joining this show. I have prepared quite a number of news, sir, as always, on some major topics, major developments, and hopefully you will like the video. And in that case, please click that like button and leave some commentary. Might be helpful, by the way. I'm not quite sure about it, but might be helpful to deal with this extremely aggressive algorithm on both platforms that I'm streaming now simultaneously on my YouTube and the Rumble channels. And in case you appreciate my work and want to help me maintain this project, you can of course support. There is several means for that. PayPal, Boosting, links are on this video description box. Also, you can subscribe, of course, to my Patreon page where I have extra content almost every other day. I have page on Boosty too, by the way, you will see there. You can subscribe either on my Patreon or Boosty channels. And during the live stream itself, you can use Super Chat or Rant, as it called there, feature on the Rumble to highlight any topic you want and simultaneously to donate to the project. You can also become a premium subscriber on Rumble, by the way, where my channel is monetized, and there is such opportunity, which will never be on YouTube because my channel never gonna be monetized on YouTube. As long as they are not deleting my channel completely on YouTube, okay, I will work with that. Okay, all the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And let's go through some news. I'll try to make this live stream as short as I can, maybe around hour. That will be good, I guess. And so, first of all, dear friends, if you watched my yesterday's live stream, probably you remember that one of the members of our community, Viper, asked me about several issues and also about fight against corruption here in Russia. He asked if corruption is still an issue in Russian Federation, and I said, unfortunately, it is. It is the issue, and every now and then there are reports in media about officials, high-ranking officials, in many cases, being arrested on corruption or fraud charges. And well, I didn't exaggerate anything, by the way. That's exactly what is happening. And this morning I saw this reporter on RIA Novosti exactly about fight against corruption. And I decided, you know what, if Viper is watching now, maybe he will be interested to hear that. For example, Cuban transport minister Periverser was arrested. So let me give you some details. Krasnodar Krai Transport Minister Alexei Perivertsev has been arrested on fraud charges. Law enforcement officials told the RIA Novosti news agency. A preventive measure has been chosen for Perivertsev until March 19, their agency's source said. He clarified that the minister was arrested on the charges of fraud, which is another way to say corruption, right? And so these type of reports are coming in literally every now and then, every other day, by the way. Clearly, it seems to me that Kremlin is determined to deal with the horizontal corruption, and there is different levels of corruption, right? It's all deadly and fatal for any society, any state institutions, any country, corruption that is, of course. And the most deadly way of corruption is, of course, horizontal corruption, when these corrupt individuals are doing their dirty work, their criminal activity. They are infiltrating state institutions, basically, on all possible levels, right? On regional levels, in different institutions, they are trying to be in the federal level too. They are linked in many cases between each other to cover each other, right? And well, this is a big issue, by the way. I said many times before, existential threat for Russian Federation is corruption and corrupt officials. Not NATO, not the Western ruling class, but corruption and corrupt officials. Of course, NATO is a threat. Western ruling class is a threat and existential threat, I will say, for all of humanity. But in this particular case, we are talking about Russia's internal stability, right, and developments, and their existential threat for this is corruption and corrupt officials. And only way, I strongly believe, only way we can effectively deal with this beach is this beach is in Russian, by the way, which means disease. Only way we can deal effectively with this disease is to designate corrupt officials as traitors, and capital punishment to be exercised against them, with their absolute complete confiscation of everything that are on their name, on name of their family members, on name of their friends, and so on and so on, right? Investigators are well capable of distinguishing, right, which assets are linked to corruption and which are not, right? If you cannot explain how you have a home, how you pay for it, or the car, or the jewelry, or any other asset, then that explains quite a lot, isn't it? It does not take some nuclear science to understand that if you cannot explain and justify assets that you or your family members or your friends have, then that means there is some corruption issue there, right? So everything has to be confiscated, and these corrupt officials, once court will charge them, sentence them, right? They should, capital punishment should be exercised, because otherwise we will struggle to deal with this disease. Because just imagine, by the way, these corrupt officials, and in this particular case, it's a high-ranking official, isn't it? Minister of the entire region, Minister of Transport, and in many cases, these corrupt officials are stealing tens of millions of rubles, hundreds of millions of rubles. There are cases when the talk is about billions of rubles, right? They are causing tremendous damage to society, to country. And if you are not confiscating everything they have due to corruption, if you are not exercising capital punishment, if you are not executing these criminals, then what is the left? They will serve, let's say, 5 to 7 year term in a prison, and that's it. After 7 years, they are multimillionaires and they can enjoy their lives on expense of society. I don't think this is fair. And definitely, this approach that Russia has right now, sentencing them to quite a little number of years in a prison, only encourages these corrupt elements, right, to continue their criminal doing. But if they would know that they're going to lose their lives and everything they stole, literally everything, well, that might serve as a break for many, right? Nothing to be said about strategical safety of the Russia, strategical interest of the Russian Federation, because these corrupt officials obviously are easy target for foreign secret services, right? To blackmail and then to force to work for foreign secret services as an assets, right? Informants and so on. So this is extremely dangerous stuff, for sure. And hopefully, Russian leadership, Russian president, Russian lawmakers will go ahead and designate corruption as a state treason, and reintroduce capital punishment for a number of crimes, including crime of corruption. This is absolutely necessary. And if you think just a minister was arrested, no, man. Once corruption is inside any institution, it kills, right? It rots the institution. And the deputies of Perivertsev were arrested too. and there is a report about it also on RIA Novosti. Two deputy transport ministers of Krasnodar Krai, Alexei Perevertsev, have been reminded in custody will stay in custody until March 19 on the fraud charges, law enforcement officials told RIA Novosti. So it's not just a minister that was this minister of Alexei Perevertsev, but also two of his deputies will stay in a prison. It's not prison yet, right? It's detention. Will stay in detention until 19th, and then court will decide their fate further. So I wanted to highlight this news, dear friends, because of that question yesterday. Corruption definitely is an issue, existential threat for Russian Federation, and I personally, as I said, strongly believe that there is only one way to deal with this disease, and I already explained what that way is. Let's continue with some other news, and dear friends, Western ruling class, NATO, and their proxies in Kiev are launching long-range attacks on Russian Federation on daily basis, and well, since the beginning of this year, 56 civilians have been killed in these attacks conducted by a Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. This was stated by Human Rights Commissioner Tatiana Maskalkova. A year has just begun. It's only 22nd, isn't it? And there are 56 civilians already being killed by these Ukrainian terrorists and their Western backers. Information that most definitely you're not gonna hear anywhere in the Western world. Also, dear friends, there is a large gathering of all sorts of elements, so-called world elites, in Davos nowadays, where World Economic Forum is taking place. And earlier there was reports that Zelensky was not planning to go to Davos because Trump allegedly was dodging meeting with him, and also Washington was not ready to sign up on any agreements with Zelensky. But if you were watching yesterday's developments in Davos, probably you know that Trump, during his speeches on several occasions, mentioned that he will have a meeting later on with Zelensky. And I was kind of surprised because reports were that Zelensky canceled his trip to Davos, and because maybe Trump just misspoke, maybe he was not informed that Zelensky is no longer there, right? But anyways, he made such a statements, and the reports are that Zelensky was rushed into Davos now, after previously saying that he would skip that trip. Maybe yesterday there was no meeting between Trump and Zelensky, by the way. But maybe just because Trump mentioned Zelensky today, such a meeting will take place. It's a possibility. Let's wait and see. Also, maybe this was intentional on part of Trump mentioning Zelensky because Witkov plans to come to Moscow today, right? Official representative of Trump, and most likely son-in-law of Trump, Jared Kushner, will be with Witkov to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And who knows, maybe Trump demanded Zelensky to go there in Davos to reach certain agreements so that Witkov and Kushner will not come to Moscow empty-handed to have a meeting with Putin. Could be some correlations there. Maybe these two events are linked, maybe not, but reports are that Zelensky is going to Davos now after Trump mentioned him. Let's see what will come out of that. Also, dear friends, We have more and more indicators. At least that's how I see the developments that whole this escalation between U.S. and Europe around Greenland was and is part of some large-scale, quite complex deception operation, right? Because yesterday, even before Trump made a speech in which he promised not to use force to establish control over the Greenland, Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, went to say that, well, Greenland, and this is my interpretation, Greenland is a secondary. I mean, who cares, man? It's just a deception, right? We're just messing around. Ukraine is number one. This proxy war that we are waging against Russia, that's all of us should be focused on. That's what they all should be focused on. That's what he basically said in my interpretation. And I can give you some short video, by the way. And keep in mind, Rutte said this before Trump's speech. So formally, theoretically speaking, he should not know what Trump is going to say. He should not know that Trump will say he is not going to use force and you know, eventually they actually come up with some agreement around Greenland, which is freaking laughable, man, right? It's a freaking joke. And I'll give you information about that too. But Rutte, at that particular point, should not know what was going to happen later on, what was Trump will say or stuff. But nevertheless, and I think because Rutte was informed about this deception operation, he went to talk about this proxy war that they have to prolong as much as they can. Let's listen to this short video.
Number one priority, and then we can discuss on all the issues, including Greenland, but it should be Ukraine first, because it is crucial for our European and US security.
I'd like to open up the conversation.
It's crucial for European and the US security. Yes, Ukraine topic is so crucial for US security, man. I mean, it's so crucial. It should be number one. Yes, Ukraine first, of course. So I don't know. You tell me, dear friends, what is this? If not their indirect confirmation that all this mess around Greenland is just deception operation. It's a fake stuff, by the way. They are messing around to divert attention of certain groups of people, including Russian leadership, towards some other topics, right? Because NATO, last time I checked, Mark Rutte, last time I checked, is Secretary General of NATO, right? And until yesterday, until Trump's speech, there was a constant talk about one NATO member state is taking a land from other NATO member state, issuing warnings and threats, right? And yet again, if Rutte did not know what Trump was planning to say, if this is not a deception operation, all this noise around Greenland, then how on earth Rutte publicly can say that, you know what, yes, one NATO member state is threatening another, and yes, I'm a NATO Secretary General, but you know what, this is not relevant. I mean, this is not relevant. Let's not pay attention to this. Ukraine is first. Ukraine is number one. You know, this proxy war that we are waging, we have to continue this stuff, right? What the hell, man? Is this normal? It's only me that sees something is wrong here? Really? I mean, is it okay, in your opinion? I don't think so. Clearly, this statement of Rutte, to me personally, is an indicator that all this topic around Greenland is a freaking deception operation. Well, we have basically even more indicators of that, because later on I will give you information about some alleged agreements that are some agreements that allegedly was reached between US and Europe in terms of Greenland, right? And Denmark will maintain its sovereignty over the Greenland. So what was this noise all about, if it was not a deception then? What's going on? Anyways, by the way, as I have said many times before, in no circumstances one can trust Western elites and anything that comes out from this so-called ruling class of the West. They are liars, man, chronicle liars. Diplomacy in their mind is a tool to lie to other peoples, right? They are never honest. They are never honest, and nobody should ever trust these people, by the way, ever, right? This is just so clear, man. It's so clear to me personally, right? But anyways, let's continue with some other news. And as I already mentioned, Witkoff will be in Moscow today, most likely with Kushner. Together with Kushner, they will have a meeting with the Russian president. You know my take on all these talks between Washington and Moscow, between Putin and representatives of U.S. president, between Putin and Trump himself. I'm skeptical that these talks will bring any positive results for Russia. I'm quite sure all this proxy quasi-diplomatic activity on part of US is also part of deception operation. They cannot be ever trusted, right? So this is a deception. Everything that Witkoff is doing and Kushner is doing and Trump is doing in regards to this proxy war that West is waging against Russia is and in regards to this so-called talks with Moscow is a deception, attempt to mislead Russia, attempt to lure Russia into some traps, right? And unfortunately, they are quite good at it, right? Otherwise, there would be no Minsk I agreement. There would be no Minsk II agreement. There would not be any other agreements, and there is dozens of them that Moscow signed up for, believing that Western ruling class will honor these agreements. And every time Moscow was lied to by the Western elites, right? So they are good at deception. Let's acknowledge this, right? And if I understand this, Putin definitely have to understand. Just have to understand, man. Just have to, right? And hopefully he is not taking seriously nothing, literally nothing that comes out from U.S. leadership and representatives of the Trump, Witkoff, Kushner, and whomever. Hopefully Russian president will not take anything seriously from them and will never agree on anything with them, right? Because that would be a grave mistake. That would be a grave mistake. 100%, by the way. And, well, Peskov, just like before I started this live stream, by the way, number of sources reported that Peskov spoke about this Witkoff-Putin meeting, and he said that Witkoff and Kushner will arrive in Moscow today after 7-8 p.m. And he also spoke about some other topics, but including about invitation of Russia into this so-called peace board that Trump is come up with, Gaza peace board or something. Well, every country that participates, according to reports, have to pay $1 billion, right? And the Russian president yesterday said, you know what? Yeah, if you want $1 billion, you can take it from frozen Russian assets. And Peskov spoke about this too. Contribution of $1 billion to their peace council will require the unfreezing of Russian assets in the US. He also noted that this billion contributed by Russia should go towards the reconstruction of their Palestine. He also said that Ushakov will hold a phone briefing for a journalist. Ushakov will hold a briefing, by the way, for a journalist following their meeting between Putin and Witkoff. And the Peace Council, so-called Peace Council on Gaza and other issues related to Palestinian interaction will be on agenda of their Putin and their Abbas discussion. And their Mahmoud Abbas, by the way, president of Palestine, is in Moscow today, and most likely will have a meeting with the Russian president. And this statement from Peskov about this billion clearly indicates that Putin probably will agree to join this peace council or whatever, which is also a mistake, by the way. I think this is a mistake, a big mistake. If we want to support Palestinians, if we can support Palestinians, let's do it. We don't need no freaking peace council or the peace board that this Trump is creating. Why we need that? Why cannot we support those people if we can on our own? It's legit questions, isn't it? Why we are playing these games with the Trump's administration still, by the way? I don't know, man. It makes no sense to me personally, right? But yeah, TASS news agency meanwhile is reporting that, as I said, Trump went there yesterday afternoon to make a speech in Davos on the sidelines of World Economic Forum. There was a massive interest towards his speech. I listened to it, by the way. I had to because of my work, right? I listened to it, and it was really nothing booger, nothing interesting, with exception of that statement that U.S. not going to use force to acquire Greenland or to establish control of the Greenland. Nothing else worth any attention, really. It was just a freaking talk for the sake of talk, right? Very boring stuff, by the way. If you have watched it, you understand what am I talking about. And yes, he said that there will be no use of force in regards to Greenland, and although he continued to push this narrative that, well, U.S. still need a Greenland and NATO have to help U.S. with that. It's nothing to ask compared to what U.S. has done to European NATO member states, and he was just lying and messing around the topic, right? But most important part was that, yeah, he said they're not going to use force to occupy Greenland. And yet again, what was this noise all about then? If he was just joking, if he was not serious, then why this much attention to the subject? RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, allegedly there is a draft agreement already in place on Greenland. NATO's draft agreement with the United States on Greenland does not imply transferring sovereignty over their Danish island to Washington, but does include their deployment of their Golden Dome missile defense systems, Axios reports. Earlier, US President Donald Trump announced the development of their basis for a future agreement on Greenland at the meeting with the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. And this is a show, by the way, freak show, right? And that's why Mark Rutte said that during his meeting, even before Trump mentioned anything, that, well, they have to be focused on this proxy war against Russia. That's the number one. Rest of it, including Greenland, is just, just a noise, right? And why would he say something of this kind if he's at least on some level not playing a part in this deception operation and is not informed about something, at least, right? Of course he was informed. Of course he knew that this is all and knows that this is all freaking show, right? And that's it. And when it comes to this so-called agreement between U.S. and NATO, I mean, Danish leadership a couple of weeks ago already said that U.S. can deploy whatever military assets they want. Literally, whatever they want to deploy, they can deploy. Denmark never had no issue with that. Nobody had any issue with that, right? And it was Trump that's saying, no, we need, it's psychological. I mean, no one wants to defend the lease. We have to own this island. We have to do this, and we need that. All the BS, right? And eventually, this information that, well, U.S. will have a right to deploy freaking missile systems in Greenland. They always had this right, man. Denmark never opposed to that. So you tell me, by the way, if this is not a deception operation, all this topic around Greenland, then what the hell is going on then? Do you understand? because I'm not. This cannot be serious, man, right? Because whole Western media almost went completely crazy around this subject. There was such a headlines, by the way, that US gonna launch a war against Denmark, and this gonna happen and that, and Europeans gonna fight back against Americans, and it was like a doomsday stuff right there. And then Trump is going to World Economic Forum and says, you know what, we're not gonna use force, we're not gonna do this and that, and then agreement to deploy missile systems that they always had opportunity to do so. Something is not adding up, man. Something is not adding up, right? There is a clearly dodgy stuff is going on, right? And their whole this topic of Greenland is a deception operation, nothing more, nothing less. And one more reason, never ever to trust Washington, by the way, or any other capital from the West. Never, ever, by the way, right? Because I definitely don't believe at this point that there is even a slight chance that population of the either US or European countries will ever be able to reclaim their own country. They're not going to be able to do so, right? These corrupt criminal elites, genocidal elites that are in charge in the West right now, going to stay in power and transfer this power to their kids and their grandkids. This is a generational mafia stuff is going on there, right? That's how it is. And never, as long as the Western world exists, by the way, never Western people, ordinary society is going to have even a slightest chance to actually have a say in the fate of their own country and in their own fate. They might don't understand this, right? They might still believe that they have democracies, they have elections and all that kind of BS, right? But in reality, I mean, I can see perfectly well what the hell is going on, man. Right? So never ever to be trusted there, any Western capital, any, right? They're constantly lying, man. And the best one can do in the current situation is to stay away from collective West as much as possible, right? We don't need to do business with them. We don't need to do anything with them, right? We just have to leave door open for ordinary people, by the way, to have opportunity to come to Russia, to get know Russian people, Russian culture, traditions, right? If they want to, yet again, if they want to, this door should always be open for communication between the ordinary people. But when it comes to Western elites, I mean, let's stay away from them, man. Let's just stay away from them because nothing good can come out from that bunch of freaking genocidal maniacs, man, and scum of humanity. And Donald Trump, later on yesterday, went to say that he is no longer intends to impose these 10% tariffs on number of European countries that he threatened to impose from February 1st. Yet another demonstration that all of them are freaking joke, man. They don't meant anything. They can say literally today, they can say one thing, tomorrow another, day after something different, and they are acting based on none of their statements. They are acting even differently, right? So that's why I'm saying, man, in such situation when against you are totally insane bunch of criminals, unfortunately quite a powerful criminals, best you can do is to cut any ties with them, any relationships, just shut down, right? Build a freaking wall, man, right? Leave a door for just ordinary people to communicate and cut off rest. We don't need to do nothing, no business, no communication, no negotiations, nothing, man. Just let's stay away from them, right? Because it's like, they are zombies, man. It's like zombies. You're not gonna deal with the zombies, right? You can talk to zombies as much as you want, but do you gonna achieve anything really? Western ruling class is like zombies, man, that we've seen in the movies, right? It's absolutely pointless to have any dealings with them, anything. That's it. So European countries that were allegedly threatened by this additional 10% tariffs from 1st of February, and there are another 25 from summer can chill now. No tariffs, by the way, no additional tariffs, not for Greenland, right? I'm telling you, man, it's a freaking bloody circus. It's bloody circus. How can any of us take those people seriously, man? Right? It is so, and one of the reasons why I'm saying that Western ruling class is an existential threat for humanity is that they are powerful, man. These are zombies, these psychos that are in charge of collective West, unfortunately, are very powerful and posing existential threat for humanity. I don't know how, but if we want to survive as a human species, we have to neutralize Western elites, man. We have to exterminate them, literally. We have to exterminate Western elites, period. This is not subject of discussion. This is what needs to be done if humanity wants to survive, right? Otherwise, humanity is doomed, man. Because at one point, these psychopaths that are in charge of Western world, including free nuclear powers, they're gonna cause extinction level event, man. And they will, if we are not stopping them. RT is also reporting that for whatever reason, Russian president weighed in to this whole discussion around Greenland and stuff. Maybe he wanted to, like, I don't know, man, make some points in Trump's eyes or something. I don't know why he's even mentioned Greenland or Denmark, by the way. It's none of our business, by the way. It's a deception operation on part of Western ruling class. Let them play their games. Let's not be dragged into these traps, man. Right? Of pointless talks, pointless discussions. But nevertheless, Putin went to say that, Denmark always treated Greenland like a colony, which is factually accurate statement, by the way. Putin is correct on that, but I don't understand why he had to make any statement on Greenland whatsoever, or about Denmark. What for? Let me give you some more details on that. Denmark has always treated Greenland like a colony. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said, commenting on the US President Donald Trump's plans to purchase their self-governing Arctic island. And we have a quote here: Denmark has always treated Greenland like a colony and treated it quite harshly, if not to say cruelly, Putin said at their meeting with the Russia's National Security Council in the Kremlin on Wednesday, yesterday, late afternoon. And yes, he is on point for sure. Denmark treated Greenlanders extremely badly, by the way. I don't know if you are informed, dear friends, about it, but Denmark was sterilizing Greenlanders, Greenlandian females. They were sterilized secretly, so that they would not have kids, right? Denmark wanted to have control even on the population, even on such a level that without permission, they could not even have a kid, right? And they were sterilizing thousands and thousands of females from young ages, by the way. In Denmark, that's a crime against humanity, actually, right? And I find it like difficult to understand why on earth Greenlandians still are part of Denmark when they know what Danish government, Danish secret services did to them, right? But it's their business. Okay, if they are okay with that, they are okay with that, right? It's their business. But Denmark definitely treated them extremely poorly. This is true, and the Russian president has a point there for sure. But and Denmark, by the way, is Denmark was always led by one of the most cruel people in the world. There was a Leopold, king of Denmark, isn't it? It was Leopold or whatever the freaking name wasn't of that creature that committed genocide, by the way, in Africa, right? Killed millions and millions and millions of people, exterminated entire populations, by the way, right? So if you think Denmark is this tiny, cute country, no, man, Denmark has a freaking bloody history, one of the bloodiest histories in Europe, actually. You know, this is not nice, cute country, man. Never was. But yet again, why Russian president had to comment on all these topics, I don't know, man. I just don't understand her, right? Or maybe Putin just tried to, please Trump in some ways that he's supporting him or something. But yet again, if Putin thinks he can have any agreement with the Trump, and that agreement then will be honored either by Trump himself or his administration or their, then I don't know, man. I don't know. We are in trouble in that case. If Putin actually believes in that, then we are in trouble, to say the least, right? Hopefully he does not believe in U.S. ruling class, even for slightest. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, according to some media reports, NATO officials criticized French President Emmanuel Macron to appease White House President or U.S. President Donald Trump in Davos. During their meeting with the Trump, NATO negotiators criticized Macron and his bazooka remarks in an attempt to win his favor. The newspaper, The Telegraph, a British propaganda outlet, reports about it. And okay, man, Macron is outgoing, isn't it? Macron not going to be president of France for much longer, and he might be chosen as a scapegoat by many Europeans to somehow, I don't know, man, butter their Trump. But in any ways, by the way, all this topic of alleged confrontation between American and the European elites is a fake stuff. It's a fake stuff, by the way. They don't. I can't believe that they don't like each other. I can't believe that because these Western elites, they don't like nobody but themselves, right? These are narcissistic psychopaths, right? They don't like nobody except themselves. They think they are pinnacle of their human development, right? And everyone else is garbage. And when you have people like that in a position of elites, you can understand that they will always have some tensions between each other, right? But to believe that there is actually real confrontation between American and European ruling class, no, man, they are playing games. They're constantly playing games. They are trying to mislead the public, right, big time, and use these different games to further advance their sick agendas, right? That's all. Meanwhile, Spanish foreign minister, and this topic might worth some attention, Spanish foreign minister called for creation of the European army. The topic of European army is in discussion in Europe for like decades now, isn't it? I mean, literally decades. And I don't think they will advance anywhere near to actual army in next decades, right? Because yet again, European elites, they consider themselves to be a pinnacle of their human advancement, right? Human development. And I don't think they will be okay to take orders from others, right? One of the reasons why Europeans are unable to build armies is that they hate each other. They don't like each other, man. And their Spanish militaries, they will be, it will be very difficult to persuade Spanish militaries to be happy while taking orders from Brits, for example. And Brits not going to be happy while taking orders from French or Germans, right? Germans not gonna be happy to take orders from anybody, and we can go on and go on, right? These countries are allies only on the paper, by the way, right? Only on the paper, and Western elites know this, and that's why they are constantly pushing for these false narratives of Russian threat and Chinese threat and this threat and that threat to keep them, like, keep control over these countries, right? To maintain this fake union, because otherwise, if there is no threats, then well, they will struggle, right? They will struggle to have this globalist project alive that EU is, for example. They already are struggling because more and more, number of Eurosceptics are on the rise all over the Europe, right? So their propaganda is no longer working. Propaganda of the Western elites is no longer effective, or that effective, right? And more people are questioning. More people are questioning narratives of the Western elites. More people are questioning dependence of their countries on orders from Brussels. What the hell, right? They don't want this. And yet again, once European elites, they did corner it themselves, isn't it, in some ways, because they will stop pushing this narrative of non-existent threats from Russia or China or from, I don't know, man, aliens from Andromeda Galaxy. That day will be the end of this fake union also in Europe, isn't it? Because those countries will have no reason to stay together and obey orders from freaking Brussels. But anyways, when Western ruling class will stop pushing this fake narrative of Russian threats, is nowhere near, might never come, right? Might never came, actually. And that's why on the sidelines of World Economic Forum, one of the topics of discussions was war with Russia. War with Russia, by the way, and Finnish president that is being promoted big time by Western propaganda means, by Western elites, for whatever reasons. I mean, probably he's going to be appointed on some high-ranking position in Europe soon, right? This is the only reason why Stab is constantly in the media, international media, because he's a president of Finland, man. Who cares what president of Finland has to say about anything? Really, I mean, even Finnish people probably don't really care what Stab has to say. And he is constantly in the media field, moved around these global events and stuff. Clearly, promotion is going on, right? Promotion is going on of this creature. But anyways, he was on sidelines of WEF. He was asked about war with Russia, and he bragged about how strong Finland is and how capable of fighting Russia and all that shit. I can give you a short video, by the way. I commented on this statements, and I will share that comment with you in a sec. But first, let's listen what Stab has to say. Well, I guess YouTube today especially hates my channel. Only 139 people are online on YouTube, and let me check Rumble, by the way. 16 members are online on Rumble right now, and there was 2 super chats, by the way, on Rumble. I will make screenshots right now of both, and I will highlight her after the news segment. And so, thank you very much, Jefferson Moment, for super chat. I will react on your super chatter straight after the news segment. And now let's go through this video, by the way, that Stab talked about. Interesting. Just a sec, dear friends. I knew I had this video, man. But it has just a sec. And that's a video, right?
At intensity.
With an assumption that the United States would cut off completely any kind of
Precisely,
work.
yeah.
Well, if we look at the defense composure of Europe by and large, and a country like Finland, so how do we do it? We have conscription. 1 million have done it. We can mobilize 280,000 soldiers within weeks. We have 62 F-18s. Your next question is going to be, do they fly without Americans? No, they don't. But do we trust that they will continue to fly because it's in the interest of America to do so? Yes. We just bought 64 F-35s. We have the biggest artillery in Europe together with Poland. We have long-range missiles, land, sea, and air. We don't have these because we're worried about Stockholm, right? So, the bottom line is that if you ask me the question that can the Finnish military defend itself against a Russian attack, the whole defense posture of the way in which you do it, yes, we can. But then the second question, which you were alluding to, I think we also have to understand that you fight wars on the battlefield. But
there is no need to listen to this creature anymore. But you get the essence, right? He was bragging about how tough Finland is, how capable, and all that kind of stuff, right? And why is that, dear friends? If you remember, I have said many times before that out of desperation, globalists, once they will realize that, Ukraine is no longer serving their purposes, its purpose, it's no longer effective sacrifice, they might go ahead, these globalists, and sacrifice some other countries. And there is several directions where we might expect escalation, right? Including direct clashes, a provocation of the direct clashes between even European NATO member states and Russia. And these directions are outside of Europe, is also outside of NATO. It's of course Southern Caucasus region, one of the areas that globalists, Western ruling class is actually trying to destabilize the situation and provoke conflicts with Russia. They will try their best to destabilize Central Asian republics and cause issues between Central Asian republics and Russia. Moldova, by the way, for sure, is destined for destabilization, absolutely. But when it comes to NATO, it's Poland, obviously, that globalists might sacrifice. Baltic Chihuahuas, for sure. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. But they are just too small, right? So it might not be enough. And they might add Finland to that. Finland, by the way, and that's why, because they are, and one of the directions from which they might attack Russia is Finland. They might actually cross the border of the Russian Federation and invade Russia from Finland, right? From Poland, they might attack Poland and Lithuania. They might attack Kaliningrad region. From Finland, they might try to attack in direction of, let's say, Petersburg, St. Petersburg, right? They might cross border there too from Finland. And Finnish President Stab is bragging about, as you can see, its military capabilities, long-range artillery, long-range missiles, this and that. They have planes and all sorts of stuff, right? he knows that Finland is going to be sacrificed, by the way. At this point, I will give her 90+%. Maybe not 100%, but I will give 90+% that globalists gonna provoke direct clashes between a number of European NATO member states and Russia. They're gonna do it because Ukraine is no longer serving their agenda in a way they hoped for, right? Kiev regime is collapsing. Kiev regime's forces are collapsing. Russian troops are advancing on the battlefield. So they're going to sacrifice some others because currently it is so clear, isn't it, that neither globalist controlled regimes in Europe, neither American ruling class is ready to acknowledge defeat in this proxy war. And it is a proxy war, isn't it? It is a collective West that is fighting against Russia with the Western weapons, Western money, and the best military force they can come up with, most capable military force, which is unfortunately, tragically for Russian world, is our brainwashed brothers and sisters from Ukraine. And this is factual statements, right? This is factually accurate statements that I'm making now. So they are no longer relying on Ukraine. They know they used and abused Ukraine as much as they could, right? The regime might last for another, I don't know, maybe a year or so, maybe two, but they're finished, right? Eventually, Russian troops will reach the borders of the Western Ukraine. And to delay this process, to delay Russian advances, to reinforce their own dream of achieving strategical defeat of Russia, Western ruling class most likely will provoke, potentially even before end of this year, direct clashes between European NATO member states and Russia. And one of the directions from which they're going to attack us, mainland Russia, is definitely Finland, by the way. And if that happens, well, no amount of artillery pieces, no amount of planes or the missiles gonna save the Finland, man. Finland as a state will cease to exist if Finnish leadership will allow globalists to use their country as a bridgehead to attack Russia. Finland will cease to exist as a state. I can see that. I just can see that, man. There's no way Finland as a state gonna survive that. No way. And not just Finland, by the way. Whichever other country will be involved, gonna end up in a very dark place, man. Let me say it that way. But definitely something to keep in mind, by the way, because Western ruling class, as I said, is quite good at diverting attention, right? Attention of public, attention even of some governments worldwide. They are good at deception. And we should not allow ourselves to be misled, right? We should keep in mind all the possible risks, all the possible scenarios, right? Just to know, and be ready as much as possible. Let's continue with some other news, and it's already hour, by the way. It's already hour, and well, as I said, dear friends, Russian president yesterday commented on this so-called peace council that Trump has come up with, or Gaza Peace Board. And he said that Russia is ready to allocate $1 billion to this peace council from funds that are frozen in the US. He also stated that Russia is discussing with the US their use of Russia's frozen assets for their reconstruction of the territories in their special military operation zone. Okay, Russia is using these frozen assets as a tool, by the way, in some ways, and this is understandable because there is no way in this universe, by the way, Western ruling class going to return to Russia this 300 billion frozen assets of ours. 100 is about in US, 100 billion, 200 billion around is in European jurisdiction, right? So they're not going to return these assets to Russia. So therefore, why should not Moscow use this lost money as a tool? You know, it makes sense. It makes sense, right? Because they're not going to give us it anyways, right? So let's. There is also another opinion that, well, if we cannot get those assets, then why we are not confiscating Western investments in Russia, which is also around 300 billion. And this is a good question, by the way. I also wonder why we have not yet confiscated these Western assets. They steal our assets, so why we are not confiscating in retaliation assets that they have in Russia? I mean, it makes no sense, but yet again, Kremlin has its own calculus, right? And quite often it is difficult to understand what's going on, right? Let's say that way. So also, while there is talks about this so-called Gaza peace board, which is nonsensical stuff, absolutely nonsensical stuff. Hopefully, we wouldn't be part of it. But based on statements of Russian president, seems like he is considering to agree to be on board of that institution. Okay, I mean, it's his decision, right? He is Russian president, so. But to me personally, it's a point. It makes no sense. It's not about peace. This organization will be used by Americans, by Zionists, by Western ruling class, generally speaking, to justify ethnic cleansing and the genocide in Palestine, to justify or at least to divert responsibility from Israel for all the crimes that they committed, right? And I don't want Russia to be on the board of this institution exactly because of that. It's going to be used for wrong purposes, right? In wrong direction. Not to help Palestinians, not to rebuild Palestine, but to serve Israeli interests. And Israeli interests are not Russian interests. I don't give a fuck about Israel, man. I don't give a fuck if Israel exists, non-exists. I just don't care, man. Right? I just don't care, man. I don't think Israel has any right to exist. I know, as I don't think any country in this world has a God-given right to exist. You exist as long as you can. When you cannot, you are no longer in existence. That's how it is, man, right? And all this bullshit talk that Israel has right to exist. Who tell you that? Did Jesus write that down somewhere, sometimes, or what the heck is going on? Who says that Israel has any inherent right to exist, man? Who gives a fuck about Israel except Israeli fascists, man, that are terrorizing Palestinian people and just recently killed tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians and continue to do so. So fuck Israel, man. Let's be clear on that. Fuck Israel, this genocidal fascist entity. Fuck it. And Russia should not ever be in support of Israel in anything, man. As long as Israel is a fascist state, we should condemn it. And if we can, should try whatever we can to neutralize, demilitarize, and denazify this fascist entity. That's the right way to go, right? That's the way that our grandfathers will be proud of us, right? Because they were fighting fascists, man. And now we're going to be on the board of some institutions that going to play on behalf of fucking Israel. Seriously, man? It's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing stuff. Anyways, let's continue. And as I said, while all this stuff is going on, Israel continues to kill people, man. Israel continues to commit crimes against humanity, right? On daily basis, literally on daily basis. And they are leveling not just the Gaza Strip, they are committing numerous crimes in the West Bank, and they are leveling, by the way, Lebanon too. Soon southern Lebanon, at least southern Lebanon, will look like Gaza. They are bombing literally on daily freaking basis and leveling village after village, town after town. And let me show you what I mean by this. I mean, there is plenty of videos, isn't it? Plenty of videos. If anyone wants to know, will know, right? Look what they do, man. These fucking fascists, man. Look. This is Israeli strike on yet another settlement in southern Lebanon. Look.
إذن في
Look what
هذه
these
اللحظات
fascists are doing, man. Just look at this. That's what Israel is doing. I said, man, only way sustainable peace is possible in the Middle East is if this fascist entity, Israel, is demilitarized and denazified. That's the only way, man. That's the only way. And Israel continues, as I said, they continue to commit numerous crimes against humanity. You can see journalist was injured there, and just yesterday they killed 3 journalists in Gaza. Just yesterday they killed 3 journalists in Gaza. Let me share that that information too. So, as a result of Israeli strike, at least 3 Palestinian journalists, while on duty, by the way, were killed in central Gaza. Israeli fascists targeted their car of the journalists. And you can see on your screen these journalists, man. That's what Israel is doing. That's what Israel is doing. And Israelis, majority of Israelis are fascists, by the way, right? Vast majority of Israelis are fascists. Let's make no mistake. It's not just Netanyahu that is doing these crimes, and not just his fascist inner circle. It's Israelis. Majority Israelis are doing this, and they are in support of all the crimes that the Israeli government and the IDF have committed. Take a look at their studies, man, that was done on the matter. From 70 to 90+% of Israelis are in support of everything they did, man, right? Including genocide, right? And that's what they committed, genocide, man. So when I say majority Israelis are freaking fascists, that's factual. Genocidal fucking maniacs, man. Iranian media, meanwhile, shared the information about casualties as a result of recent Israeli and US orchestrated riots. And according to this report that I see on DD Geopolitics channel, 3,117 people were killed. That's the death toll, including 2,427 from security forces and their innocent citizens. Rest are, I guess, these rioters that were neutralized by security services. Some numbers or now some statistics are available now about these riots. Western propaganda, by the way, they were pushing narratives that 60,000. At some point, they were pushing narrative that 60,000 people were killed on the streets. more even, right? That's why I said, man, never trust any freaking so-called media that is based in the West. By the way, just never trust them. They might give you 10% of true, and then to keep your attention, and the rest 90% will be freaking lie and misinformation. That's how they operate, by the way. That's how Western so-called journalists operate. That's what propaganda is doing, and unfortunately, they are quite good at it, right? They are giving the people 5-10% of actual information that people can check or rely to, right? And they are losing concentration, right? They are not paying attention to next 90%. They automatically believe that, oh, if this is true, then rest must be true too. No, man. Propagandists know how human brains are operating, right? And they will give you something to keep your attention, and then they will feed you with their all sorts of freaking bullshit, right? And unfortunately, vast majority in the Western societies are happy to digest all that stuff, man. And for whatever reason, when it comes to, let's say, bigger Middle East now, because I consider North Africa to be a part of a bigger Middle East, not geographically, but politically, let's say, for whatever reason, U.S. President Donald Trump is provoking another conflict, by the way, this time around between Egypt and Ethiopia. And every now and then, Trump is talking about a dam that was built in Ethiopia on the Nile, right? Trump is lying to people, claiming that this dam was built by U.S. Money. There is not a single dollar of U.S. money in that project, right? According to statements of Ethiopian leadership, right? So dam is built now, and Egypt was not happy about it. Obviously, Sudan was not happy about it, but well, Ethiopian had to deal with energy crisis, right? They need energy, and therefore they build this dam. And Trump is now playing on tensions between Ethiopia and Egypt, on side of Egypt, right? And sort of pushing Egypt towards some action. And let's keep this in mind, dear friends. Soon, unfortunately, something might happen. Something might happen in this part of Africa, right? Northern Eastern Africa. We might actually see hostilities between Egypt and Ethiopia. Maybe Sudan will be involved in some ways because Egypt is not bordering Ethiopia directly. It's Sudan in between, right? I can show you on the map, by the way. I believe it's Sudan in between. So this is Egypt, right? Sorry, man, this is Egypt. This one is Libya. So this is Egypt, right here. And this is Sudan. Yeah, I remember correctly. This is Sudan, and this is Ethiopia. And they built dam on Blue Nile, right? And Egypt is not happy about it. Sudan is also not happy, but Khartoum, capital of Sudan, is not really that escalatory against Ethiopia, while Egypt is acting crazy, right? And if we keep in mind that U.S. has tremendous influence on Egypt, I mean, they might actually encourage Egypt to go ahead with some crazy stuff, right? Against Ethiopia, and maybe U.S. will freaking get involved. Maybe they will bomb this freaking dam, man. I would not be surprised at all. U.S. is acting in such a ways nowadays, but that I wouldn't be even surprised if U.S. tomorrow will start escalating with Ethiopia, and if U.S. will attack those dams. I don't know, man, but some dodgy stuff is going on there. and let's keep our attention. Let's keep attention on this direction, on northern eastern Africa. What else have I bookmarked, by the way? And well, this is also important. This is also important that US, according to Wall Street Journal, intends to conduct regime change or achieve regime change in Cuba before end of 2026. So one more indicator that I was correct while saying that all this buildup of military forces in Caribbean is not just about Venezuela, but first and foremost for Cuba. I think I was correct then, and I'm correct now on this because that's exactly what is going on. Cuba is number one target for American ruling class when it comes to Latin America. They deal with Venezuela in their own ways, right? And they're gonna attack Cuba now. They will use covert operations. They will use any means necessary, right, to destabilize country from within. And at some point, they might actually get involved militarily. Clearly a possibility, by the way. US is behaving in such a ways that nothing can be excluded from potential scenarios, right? So people of Cuba should get ready, man, as much as possible for potential large scale destabilization, because US will not leave them alone, man. US leadership, by the way, I'm talking about, not ordinary Americans, of course. Ordinary Americans care about their lives, right, and their own country. And last time I checked, US President Trump was elected on promise that he and his administration will focus exactly on that, US citizens and their interests. But, well, they've been lied again, Americans, by the way, by their own elites, right? So, yes, Cuba is definitely a target, by the way. None of us are surprised by this. And, well, let's see how things will develop. That's about it for a news segment. That's about it for a news segment. And now let me highlight. A super chat. There was two super chats, by the way, right? From so let me highlight this. So this is two super chats from Rumble. Thank you very much, Jefferson Monumenter, for your super chats, and two super chats and their $5 donation each, which is a $10 donation to this project. Thank you very much for this support. And let me go through comments of Jefferson Monumenter. Zelensky and his Brussels masters won't agree to any of it because once that happens, there will be price on his head for from Ukrainians. Well, I think Zelensky is a dead man walking anyways. Zelensky is a dead man walking anyways. If he will manage to escape Ukraine alive, which is not guaranteed for him, but if he will manage to escape for Israel, and the only direction he can go is Israel, because that's where all the freaking fascists and mass murderers are, right? Most of them, at least in Israel, they loved it. They love mass murderers, and that's where Zelensky gonna go, in Israel, right? But even if Israeli security services will try to protect him, they will be, active. They will provide active protection for maybe like several months, maybe a year also, or two. But after that, Zelensky gonna rely on his own money for protection, right? And he has done so much damage to Ukrainian people, by the way, to people to citizens of Ukraine, right? That I think someone gonna get to him. One day someone will get to him, no matter security, and will take him out. You know, so Zelensky, in any case, is a dead man walking. He might escape now or whenever transit of power will happen, right? Whenever transit of power will be orchestrated by the West in Kiev, from Zelensky to Zaluzhny or whomever. Well, Zelensky might escape, might manage to escape to Israel, but eventually someone will get to him. He's gonna be eliminated, man. He signed up for death of over a million citizens of Ukraine. He signed up. He's directly guilty in the death of over a million citizens of Ukraine. He's guilty in death of tens of thousands of Russian citizens, maybe even hundreds of thousands at this point. He's directly guilty in destroying lives of millions of people that had to flee Ukraine, become refugees all over the world. Zelensky cannot be forgiven ever, by the way. And I don't think citizens of Ukraine will ever forgive him for all their crimes that he committed, right? So they're going to get to him, man. Zelensky is a dead man. And also Jefferson Monument is commenting, once you join the EU, they remove your testicles and keep them in a vault in Brussels. Yes, I guess that's it, by the way. Once countries are joining EU, they are losing sovereignty completely, right? And this leadership of EU member states are acting, they are pathetic, right? They are pathetic, with the exception of few, by the way. Let's be real here. Current leadership of Hungary and Slovakia definitely are trying to protect the interests of their nations as much as they can, but rest definitely is just pathetic. This is 100% true, man. And Brussels is taking more and more sovereignty from them as time goes by. But one of the reasons why, maybe this is the reason why, one of the reasons, not only, but one of the reasons why number of Eurosceptics are on the rise all over the Europe, by the way, right? All over the Europe, because people understand, man, no matter this Western bias propaganda of their local elites, people on some levels do understand that all this EU stuff, Brussels and the Brussels dictatorship is wrong. It's wrong, man, and they are waking up to this truth. And once they are facing the reality, they will be forced to act, and they will, right? I'm skeptical that Western societies will ever be able to actually regain control over their own countries, but at least there is a probability that they will try. They will try. They're gonna mislead though, right? Because in UK, for example, there is a UK Reform Party, isn't it? Many people thought it was a true alternative, but I mean, Nigel Farage, man, he become more Russophobic than Stammer, because that's what he had to be, right, to join the club, to be accepted, to become a prime minister potentially, right? So he's now more Russophobic. He does make anti-Russian statements, Russophobic statements, literally on a daily basis. And if anybody still believes that Reform UK Party is a real people, or leadership, let's say, of that party are genuine and they have principles and values, then, well, sorry guys, you're gonna be disappointed big time, man. I said a million times before, Western systems are built from the beginning in a way that decent human beings are not allowed. Decent human beings are not allowed in this system. Only way you're gonna be part of a system in the West, only way you're gonna achieve any more or less high level of decision making is if you're being corrupt. Only corrupt elements are allowed into those systems, by the way, that Western countries have, man. This is true, and that's why I don't believe UK Reform Party is any different than this totally corrupt and disgusting Labour Party or their Conservatives. And I have to be real, man. I don't think German AfD is actually real, man. I think this is a deception also that Western ruling class come up with, because they know there is a protest that is growing in the public, right? And they need something to divert their attention, to maintain control. And they are creating these so-called alternative parties. Le Pen in France, by the way. Do you really believe that Le Pen is real? I don't. I don't, and history will show that I am correct. This is it. This is it, dear friends. Jefferson Monument, thank you very much for your super chats on Rumble. And right now, there was another super chat, by the way, also from Jefferson Monument. And let me highlight, if I may, just a sec. So also from Jefferson Monument or super chat. Thank you very much, Jefferson, for another super chat and the $2 donation. Bulgaria just gave theirs to Ursula. You are correct, Jefferson. Bulgaria just joined on 1st of January, isn't it? Euro zone. I mean, that was such a big mistake, man. And I spoke about it whenever topic was coming up in the programs. That was mistake, I believe, man. Big mistake on part of Sofia, that they give up their last remnants of their sovereignty to Brussels. Because if you don't control your currency, you don't really control much, right? And they give up on their own currency, by the way, and they are they joined the Eurozone. It's crazy, man. But yet again, these are puppet regimes, isn't it? I'm not quite sure people of Bulgaria actually are okay with that. But yet again, this Western ruling class, by the way, these globalists, I mean, they are quite good at deception, right? They have systems in place to mislead people, to manipulate with people, with big masses, right? Entire populations. And they are managing to, based on these corrupt systems that they have built, they are managing to keep their puppets in a position constantly, no matter the name, right? Bulgarian president just resigned, isn't it? A couple of days ago, for example. And what? They're going to be yearly parliamentary elections now, okay? And even if literally nobody in Bulgaria will go to vote, well, they're going to be, no one going to care, basically. Officials will say, well, this many people came, and this is the numbers, right? This is the numbers. And they're either accept it or we don't care. Either accept it or we don't care. Brussels was very, they lost their cautiousness at some point. They were just too confident in themselves, right? In this system, which has its flaws, for sure. And you know what happened in Romania, isn't it? You know what happened in Romania? People actually somehow managed, by the way, to influence the system and elect the president that they wanted. And well, globalists intervene quite quickly, right? Straight away, immediately, by the way. Dismissed the election results. Almost jailed, by the way, candidate that win the election, right? Almost jailed him. They did something to him because that guy is quiet now. You know, they blackmailed him. I don't know what they did, but you know, that's how system works in the West. And surprisingly to me, there are many people, by the way, that are truly believing that they are living in democracy. They have democracy there. Yeah, of course, man. Of course. It's crazy. Thank you very much, Jefferson Monument, for your support, interesting questions, comments, and the donation. Thank you very much. And dear friends, let me check Boosty right now. Let me see if there was any questions from Boosty. No questions from Boosty, by the way, and I will check. Okay, there was no questions through PayPal also. So therefore, dear friends, I will end this live stream on that term. Hopefully you did find interesting news segment of it, interesting and useful. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.